Did you see the trailer for the Boss Baby 2?
Yeah, I saw it yesterday actually. It came out yesterday. I was surprised, but it actually kind of looks all right.
Yeah,
The direction they were going with it when they're like older and then they get turned back is not too bad.
because let's be real, like the first one was like easily one of the worst films that not Pixar, Jesus Christ, DreamWorks have made in a while.
I just remember watching it in like I think it was last Christmas actually, or it was or 2 Christmases ago. I don't know. I was watching it with my stepdad, as you know, Brad,
Yeah, I love
and
Brad.
he was just like we were just proper engrossed in it for some reason. I don't know why, but it was
You're like proper invested in the character and like the arcs that they
yeah,
went on and
yeah.
the two damn cousins out, they're watching movies.
Welcome back. I'm guessing to another week
Another
of
one.
reinventing the reel. Uh, this week we're gonna be obviously doing our own films. If you saw last week it was decent. You know, we were finding the ground
Yeah.
and just going off. But yeah, I mean, we wanted to just start today as well by thanking everyone for all the support, the overwhelming support. To be fair, because it's been
Crazy.
really great, and
Yeah.
I know I can speak for both of us here when we're feeling very, very creative.
Yeah.
Like, and we're just going back and forth. We've got so many ideas for this, and as we said last week as well, I'm gonna say it again. We just want to we just want to make this better and better with each week. So thank you everyone
A
again for
hundred.
sharing
Yeah.
around and giving us feedback, and thank you as well, Curtis,
Me?
for
What? Oh, jeez.
yeah, because for being like creative muse for me as well, and like coming together with this.
Oh, you're gonna make
I'm
me
just
cry.
very
Oh.
happy. Yeah.
Yeah, even if there weren't people listening to this, I feel like it's not even an excuse, but it's just it's like a part of my week now that I get to actively look forward to, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
cool. I get to sit and I get to talk to Cameron, who's like one of my favorite people, just about films, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
So yeah, just off the back of what Cameron said as well, 100% thank you to everyone. If you have any more feedback or anything, you can always hit us up on our Instagram at that real podcast. Real spell R2 E's and an L. We've got a Facebook page by just the name of the podcast, Reinventing the Real.
Yep.
And
And if you have us directly, even come to us directly. Anything helps.
yeah,
And we're on all mate your favorite podcasting sites, which was a surprise to me. Like that we got it on Spotify.
that's
Like
insane.
yeah, when Curtis sent me the message in the like, I think it was Saturday morning.
Yeah,
I
Saturday.
just woke up and he was like, "Oh, it's distributing now. Like it's on Spotify." And I was like, "What? Spotify? God damn!" Like, and everyone I spoke to is like, "Damn, that's pretty cool." Spotify. I was like, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know
Like
us.
we're not playing. We don't play games. We don't half-ass.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, number like the number one complaint that we got last week was that my mic was way louder than yours,
Yeah.
and not in a good way.
Yeah. I mean, we're trying different things. Like this week, we've separated the audio, little behind the scenes stuff for you here,
Yeah,
and
like
we just recording it on our own end. But still, how things go, you know.
yeah, I've
And
invested in a better mic, so hopefully it sounds nice and crisp. But yeah, like we said at the end of last week, so we pick. This is the podcast where we have a. It depends because at the minute, we're still testing the waters. We'll still see what happens.
yeah,
But for the most part, so this week, so at the end of last week, we picked out films for each of us to remold in a way, to repitch.
yep, yep.
And I picked out Hereditary.
And I got Knives Out.
Both, I think, very great films.
Yeah, it was. It's hard. It isn't going to be hard as The Boy in the Striped Pajamas because one, we hadn't seen that film in a while, and two, it's a very touchy subject, I guess.
Yeah,
I
somewhat,
guess you
yeah.
could say. Yeah.
They call me old-fashioned, but I don't know. I feel like, World War Two is a bit of a touchy subject.
Yeah.
You know what? Do you want to just get straight into it?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, cool. I've got a magical coin here. Do you want to go for heads or tails?
I'll take a Tails.
Tails? Alright.
Yeah.
Nope. It is Tails. Do you want to go first or should I?
Yeah, I'll go first. Screw it.
Yeah?
Yeah, why not?
Alright, let's do
So,
it.
as I said, I got Knives Out, and if you haven't seen it, it's a great film. It's on Amazon Prime. You can watch it. That's where I watched it because I only watched it this year as well. But if you haven't seen it, it's about. I'll read the synopsis, but it's not great. A detective investigates the death of a patriarch of an eccentric, combative family.
Ooh.
But if that isn't that great, basically, um, it's more about. No, I don't know if I should give that away. Actually, no spoilers, because it follows certain characters more than it follows the detective,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of twists and turns, and like it kept me on my toes when I was watching it. Like I was always kind of surprised, and I really enjoyed it. So if you like what you hear, I mean, my film's probably not going to sound like as much. I mean, kind of is because what I got with my randomizers, which I should have said earlier, was prequel. A director has to make a cameo, R-rated, and one of the Franco brothers have to be in it. So James or Dave. Is it Dave?
Yeah. Don't
Yeah,
tell us which one it is yet.
yeah. I won't. I won't. Don't
Oh,
worry.
okay, okay. I'm gonna try and figure out where it is, where he's gonna rear his head.
So, as you know, it's a prequel, and what I'm going for here, it's sort of like an origin story for the main detective,
Mr.
Benoit Blanc,
Mr.
which
Benoit Blanc.
was he was played by Daniel Craig in the film. If you don't know,
Brilliant.
it was a really good performance. Like Daniel Craig had a southern accent in it. It's quite funny, but he did it really well. So, um, yeah, my approach to this film is like an origin story, as I said, and it's kind of like if Cluedo did a movie from the perspective of the players. That's
Ooh.
my sort of tagline,
Okay.
if you will. So it's going to be set in a hotel, and since it's R-rated, it's going to be filled with a lot of like bloody murder, and they're
I'm a
not
fan of
really
this.
going to hold back. There's going to be a lot of swearing and good humor.
Are we talking like
And
really like over the top think like Hot Fuzz, like gore, or are we talking
yeah,
like
so
Saw, like people's like arms being like cut in half and shit like
uh sort of a mix between the two. So it could work as sort of a like light horror, but it's just exaggerated enough to be a sort of comedy film.
that? Okay, I like that.
Which the Knives Out itself is kind of comedy. Like it's got some good jokes in there and some like good filmmaking stuff that's kind of on the side of comedy. But yeah, I'll go with. I'm not gonna say like the characters yet. I'll say them as they come up. So obviously, it's Benoit Blanc. He's the main guy in this, and the film's gonna start off with some establishing shots type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Probably like of the mansion of the last film, and it starts off with that. You hear Benoit Blanc. I'm just gonna call him Blanc because I know I'm gonna mess that up.
Okay.
Speaking about the last movie, so he's gonna be like, here's my terrible southern accent, by the way.
Oh, it's got to be done though.
You might recall the case of the Harlem Harlem Forum.
So it's just Foghorn Leghorn just pops out.
You might recall the case of Harlan Formery, the twists and turns that followed. That's pretty much how it's been all my life. And so the film's just going to cut straight from that. It's going to go boom, Knives Out. The title card pops up, and then it says, I haven't really got a name for it yet, but I'll just go for the murder at the Marigold Hotel. I don't know if that's already a hotel.
It's
Is
like
it?
that for the best exotic Marigold Hotel.
There you go. Yeah. Well, let's maybe not go with that. The Yahtzee Hotel. I don't know. They play a lot of the Yahtzee at the hotel. Why not?
Nice.
Okay. So the film starts off after that little bit. You see Blanc. He's a small-time detective. He's working on the police force. In the film, he's a PI. But on this, I wanted to get him like on the police force.
Mm.
Gives him sort of a reason to go into why he went into PI and stuff.
Yeah.
So he's working on a job with his superior officer because he's just like the new partner. He's quite young, and he's like, "Oh, uh, they just finished a case," and his partner Hank, who's not played by anyone in particular, like he's just a
Okay.
side character. Don't have to worry
Okay.
about him.
Wink, wink. Okay.
Well, no, but
No. Okay.
he's finishing off a case, and Hank says to Blanc, "Oh, you've been working real hard, pal. Like, you should take a break. You know, you're new to all this. You're a rookie. You know, don't overextend yourself with all this stuff." And Blanc, he's like, he just wants to be the best, so he's like a bit reserved about this. He's, "Oh, I don't know. Like, there's a lot of stuff still open. There's a lot of cases." I'm like, "Oh no, it's only like a week. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it." And it takes some convincing, but Blanc's like, "Oh, fine, I'll go." And then Hank's like, "Oh, I know this hotel that like my brother went to last year, the Yahtzee Hotel. It's exotic, it's wild, it's crazy. You know, you should go there." It's like, oh, I guess so. Like, I've got nowhere else I need to go in particular. And there'll be some narration over that with Blanc, with Daniel Craig, and he's gonna be like, "Oh well, I was a bit reserved and all this, but I finally went through it," and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So then, cut the fluff. You know, I just go straight into it. So he arrives at this hotel, at the Yahtzee Hotel. He's like, "Oh wow, this is crazy." And I don't know if you figured it out yet, but uh, since it's a prequel, Blanc is played by someone younger,
That's what. Is this?
and
Is this it?
this
Is this DeFranco?
this is the Franco. Yeah. So which one do you think I went with?
I think you definitely went for James.
No, I actually
No?
went with Dave. Yeah, because
Oh,
he looks sort of younger, and I want, since it's a prequel, he's establishing himself. I want him to be, that kind of it. Like, I
yeah.
can't think of the word, but
I get it, but like that youthful kind of, he's
yeah,
still kind of optimistic about everything.
yeah.
He hasn't
And
been.
I could imagine him like looking like Daniel Craig in a few years. You know,
Well, he just
it,
wakes up one morning and he's just, like, have you seen Looper?
yeah.
And also directed by Ryan Johnson. And he's Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and then it's him with a wig on, and then like the next time cut is just to Bruce Willis, and it's like the most abrupt like age jump I've ever seen in my life.
Well, that's gonna happen in this, I guess. Well,
Okay, this excites me.
not out of the window, not in this film, but Dave will grow up to be Daniel.
Nice.
So anyway, he goes into this hotel and looks around, and this is full of like big names. So like you got movie stars, directors, bloody comedians, just faces who you'd be like, "Oh, that's that guy."
Yeah, like a real whodunit kind of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he walks up to the counter, and who's behind the counter? It's Ryan Johnson.
Very nice.
Is where I fit my director cameo in, because
Ting. That's one.
yeah, he's just like, "Oh, welcome to the Yahtzee Hotel. We got crazy stuff going on here. Like tonight, we've got a magician, Accurist the Wild."
Nice.
I didn't really have a name for him set out.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
So yeah, he's on tonight. I highly recommend you go see him. So, "Oh well, what you got in terms of breakfast and all that kind of stuff?" It's just a little bit back and forth between them, because Ryan Johnson, he really wants the screen time in this film for some reason. He's like, "Oh well, we got eggs and bacon, Star Wars."
What's for breakfast?
So that goes on, and Blanc goes up to his room. There's still a bit of narration going on with like, "Oh, this hotel, it was crazy, wildest thing I've ever seen. I felt like I was a bit of a fish out of water in this place. Didn't think I'd really enjoy myself. But little did I know that night would change everything." It's kind of a trailer line there.
Yeah.
So cutting through more of the fluff, like, go straight into the evening where this magic show is going to happen. And Benoit's just sitting like at the bar, like just kind of
Oh,
leaning against it, sitting down.
okay. I'm,
And
I'm I'm excited. I feel like I know where you're low-key gonna go with this.
yeah,
I know. I'm getting excited.
so uh, before that though, a woman comes up and like kind of sits next to him, orders a drink, like, "Oh, barkeep, get
Okay.
me something, strong." And then Blanc's just like, "Oh, what's the matter? Like, you seem a bit disgruntled." And she's like, "Oh, I've just had an argument with my director, and he's like telling me that we're gonna have to shoot more scenes or whatever. And
Okay.
I just want to be out there. I want to be wild and free. I just want to travel the world."
Is, is
And
is she played by anyone in particular?
Anna Kendrick.
Anna Kendrick. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I see her with. Yeah. You had that answer ready to go. I like
Yeah, I
that.
did. So, yes, she's there's I think there's a bit of more narration over this bit as well because Blanc's kind of attracted to her and he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I saw the most beautiful girl I ever seen in my life," type of
She
thing.
had the kind of legs that went all the way down to the bottom of her feet.
Yeah. And so Blanc's like, "Oh, I can't really take you around the world. I can't let you explore, but why don't you stay here tonight and we'll see what this place has to offer." And she's like, "Oh, I might just take you up on that."
Okay.
So then next thing is a tourist, the wild. He comes
Nice.
out and he's all like, "Ah, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the most fabulous show at the Yahtzee Hotel." And he's just like making it all look crazy and nice. And he's got like a assistant who's next to him. He's not really played by anyone like too out there either.
Yeah.
Spoilers, but but he's like he's just wild. He starts with some little tricks, and everyone's kind of like, "Oh, this is not great."
I'm picturing like
And
young Russell Brand.
yeah, sure, let's go for that.
Yeah, yeah, fuck it, why not? Sorry, I'm just like I know like when I'm picture like when I like to picture things, I try and slot like people in there.
Yeah, no worries. Like
But if
it
at
kind
any
of helps
point,
me because I'm
yeah,
not really great with actors. So
okay, it's perfect. It's the perfect combination then.
exactly.
Uh,
So he's just like doing some card tricks, like pulling flowers out of like his sleeve and stuff. He's like, "Ah, this is just like little sizzles of what I've really got next. I'm gonna do the old saw it in half trick." And
nice.
everyone's like, "Oh wow, that like it's a bit overdone, but let's go for it." And so he's like, "This." So I'm gonna put my lovely assistant in the box. And I'm gonna saw her in half, and it's quite obvious. Like she goes in this box, and it's
Mhm.
obvious they're like the sort of fake leg things, and
Yeah, and
people
they're
are just
like,
kind of
ooh,
laughing. Blanc and like Anna
like the legs
Kendrick's
are a
character
different
are
color.
just like looking at each other. Yeah, and so she gets in this, and he's like, "Oh, with this trusty saw, now I'm going to saw her straight down in half." And like the film like sort of changes to the perspective of the woman,
Okay.
and the guy goes in. She's like looking up. She looks up at the magician. He like winks at her. She's like sort of chuckling, and then he goes over to the box, and then the power cuts out.
Oh shit. Okay.
And
There's a
then
there's a
everyone's like, "Oh,
kerfuffle.
what?" Yeah, and everyone kind of sort half the people are like, "Oh, this is probably a part of the show." Half the people are like, "Oh, that's not meant to happen." Like you
Yeah.
you just hear the bar staff go, "Oh, that's a bit," and Blanc looks behind him. He's like, okay." And then the power cuts on, and then it's like back to this woman's position, and she's just looking out into the audience, and everyone's like, just gasps, and then the magician is dead. And like the woman looks down, she sees him on the ground, she just screams, and then
But she's still
Blanc
stuck
like,
in the box, right?
yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
and Blanc like gets up out of the out of his chair, and he's like, "Oh my god, it's been a murder," and like the power hasn't fully come back on, like it's sort of reserved power and stuff.
Okay.
Like the manager like comes out, and he's like, "Oh my god, someone call an ambulance," and everyone's like, "Oh, how could this have happened?" Because I'm sure you probably thought like maybe the assistant would die or something, or did
Mhm.
you probably think
Um.
like? the
As in
magician.
I thought it was gonna be the assistant. I can't lie, that was gonna die. Especially because you're like, oh no, no surprise there.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, okay, but then you like flipped it, and I was like, you know, I like this. I'm invested. I'm like, what's gonna happen? Like, from my point of view, I'm currently thinking, right, why is he set up for like the powers so? And I was like, so maybe
Yeah.
like it means that like they're not able to call for any help or anything, so they're like
Well, that's where I
isolated
was
and
gonna
like,
go, because I was
okay,
gonna say the manager's like, oh, someone call an ambulance. Like the bar staff's like, oh, the phone lines are cut, and
classic.
then Blanc gets up. Then like doctor gets up. He's like, oh, I'm a doctor. You know, let me go to him. Blanc walks over. He's like, oh, I'm an officer. Shows him the badge, which he was told like, don't bring the badge with you. Like,
Yeah,
don't do any work prior. But now he's been thrust into this. So uh, after some like back and forth between characters, and to be fair, I should have already said this up before. The place wasn't really that busy. Like it had a few people. Like as I said, there was names in like you could see people in the hotel, but the people who came for the show wasn't busy. There was a few staff, few like people who were staying at the hotel. So anyway, they like the hotel manager says, "Oh, everybody go to your rooms. It will be safe." And Blanc's like, "No, get everyone in a room together because I suspect some foul play here." And so, like, are you sure about this? Like, do you really want everyone to be like that, or do you want them to be safe? And he's like, no, no, get them all in a room together. So that happens. Everybody's rounded up, and then the hotel manager's like, right, I think there's a some power downstairs. Like, can some of the staff go get it? You know, I'm going to talk to Mr. Blanc here, or Mr. Ben. He says Benoit or some shit, and it's like Benoit. You know, that kind of back and
yeah,
forth. And then so he sends like two of the hotel staff down to get it. And then like between these two, like they're just two young actors, let's just say. And they're like sort of in love. And you can tell like it's set up maybe prior that these two were together or like sleeping around in this hotel. And then when they sneak off to turn on the power, it's that kind of like old cheesy horror, you know,
yeah.
the two high school students are together, and then the girl's like, "Oh, what was that sound?" And she's like, "Don't worry about
So
it,
don't worry
baby."
about it. We're just making out here at Murder
Yeah,
Point.
yeah. So, and as you know, like, um, one of them's gonna get murdered, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it's the guy because he goes to turn on the power, and then slash, like his throat just gets slit, blood goes all over the walls, and then
Okay.
the
I'm
girl's
liking
like,
this.
"Oh my god, but why would you do this?" And then boom, throws the knife straight into her head. See that shit like
Oh.
stuck in there, and it's like, okay, this is why I'm going for like a sort of more horror thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so now after that, the manager's like, oh, those two have been gone kind of long, and he knows like something's going on with them. He's like, this is probably not the best time to be making out and stuff. So he goes down to look for him, and he's like, oh, for some, you know, for the plot's sake, Mr. Blanc, can you come with me? And then Anna Kendrick's tagging along. She's like, oh, this would go well with a movie I'm starring in. You know, I could be like a rough detective. I can learn from you. So she's along, you know, for sidekick's sake or whatever. And then similar to how like you had the two police officers in the first film where they're always like asking sort of questions, and then Blanc would sort of answer it, you know, to help the audience at home. And so they go down and they see another murder has been committed, but then there's writing on the wall and saying like, uh, who's done it? Just stuff like that, like in the
Like
blood.
in blood. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Enemies of the air, beware. That kind of.
Yeah, and Blanc's like, oh, I feel like this is a message to me because they noticed he was there, and he's like, well, now I really want to get to the bottom of this. And you can see like the seed has been planted here for a, you know, a detective to blossom. And for time's sake, because I don't want this to go too long. Like I think those are the most. To be honest, those are the scenes I fleshed out the most.
Okay.
And so, for time's sake here, because I don't want to go over too much, like there's a couple more murders, couple of twists and turns. It's hard to like narrow down to make a good twist, you know, because at the end of the day, we're not like Hollywood writers, so it's hard to, you know, kind of get to that hack fraud level, you know. So anyway, it turns out that my thought for this film was that it was going to be sort of an inside job, but not in the hotel, in the police force. And they set it up to try get like to test Blanc in a way.
Ooh,
And then
okay.
at the end of it, like they're like, "Oh, you're not fit for the force." They were gonna kill him, but then since he figures out like it was an inside job, they're like, "Oh, well done. Like you've got a bright future here." And he's like, "Well, hold on. You just murdered all these people. Like this is kind of corrupt."
Hold on a second.
Yeah. So then like he's like, "You know what? High School Musical 2. I'm gonna go my own way. You know, I'm gonna be a PI."
What about us? What about everything we've been through?
What about you?
You know when? Nah, sorry. Carry on.
And yeah, so he's just like, "Oh, more narration at that point. Like, this is when I knew that I was gonna be best PI ever." And then towards the end, it's sort of like a 22 Jump Street type deal where they're like, you know, flashing through like 23 Jump Street, 24, and showed you all the like different things
Like all the
he went
cases
through.
and whatnot.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
since there is actually going to be a Knives Out sequel, I think it's
Very
a sequel
exciting.
anyway.
Yeah, it's a sequel.
There this film would set that up, so it jump back to the last film, and you see like maybe him talking to the police officers from that, and they're like, "Oh, we enjoyed working with you. You know, we wouldn't mind your help again." He's like, "Well, I normally don't do this type of thing, you know, working with the force, but when a case just grips me so much," and then that's when they get the MacGuffin for the next film. And they're like, "Oh, wow, this sounds pretty good." Yeah. So take that,
Yeah.
Ryan Johnson. Grab that.
You're
Put that in
welcome.
your film. Yeah. Yeah, I know that it wasn't fully fleshed out as much, but
No, but I was
as
a
I
fan
said,
of that though.
it's kind of difficult, yeah.
Especially because like with a murder mystery, like put it this way, Ryan Johnson started writing Knives Out in 2009, and it came out in 2019.
Yeah.
So I was a fan of that. Yeah.
Thank you. It's kind of like it's fun to think about this sort of stuff and like how I would take it, and
Like
you know,
different.
part of the fun of this whole show we're doing here is, you know, we're taking it and putting it in places that it might not go. But I don't think if Brian Johnson just so happened to stumble upon Reinventing the Reel, you know, and he found this, I don't think he'd go, "Oh, you know what? That Cameron, he's got a good idea. I'm gonna
Let me just yeet. And he just
yeah
skins it.
yeah."
No, I really like that though. Like yeah.
Thank you. So anyway,
Yeah.
you wanna
Cool. So it's
pitch
my turn
me
now.
your
Then, right?
Hereditary? Yeah.
Okay, so what I had for was Hereditary, which I feel like inherently, like when I was doing it, I got like a big worry is ruining the original film.
Yeah.
Especially because I was such a big fan of the original.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I got that too.
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like for me, like I'm such a big fan of Ari Aster or Ari Aster, the director. Like he's only had 2 films so far, but it was that and Midsummer.
Yeah.
Midsommar, and I feel like just both of them, like
They are really
for
good,
horror, yeah. But
because
like
it's sort
I
of
feel
like horror, but it's more. It's sort of shock horror, but I don't want to say that as like
yeah,
you know, like jump scare horror. It's more
No.
like, oh damn, like I wasn't expecting that sort of thing, you know.
exactly. Like to me, like real horror, well not real horror, but like my favorite kind of horror is like this kind of stuff that like sticks with you, or like
Yeah.
or like certain images that you think about. Like nothing against jump scares, but anyone can can formulate a jump scare.
Exactly.
With like some non-diegetic music, you can get some strings that go,
Yeah, or just
and then cut them out.
completely mute the sound as well. Like I know
Exactly.
I've seen a lot of things that have done that just to like jump out at you.
Yeah. And not to say that there aren't great jump scares out there. It's just, to me, it takes more skill to form like horror that's like it's rooted from character and
Yeah.
story, and it comes from like a more genuine place.
Mm.
And so, like, especially with Hereditary, like all the characters are very much motivated by trauma and loss, and you see that again in Midsommar. So I was like, right. So I've got a sequel to Hereditary, which if you don't know what Hereditary is about, is basically there's a family, and the matriarch of the family, her mum recently dies, and she had a really weird like life outside of the family. So she had like essentially she was part of a cult. She was part of a cult. Spoilers. So the whole film basically is just about how this mum is like dealing with the fact that her mum's dead, and then her daughter dies as well. And it's just like
The
this
daughter's
woman's
death, might add, is Jesus Christ. That's some.
Oh, like yeah, like it's foreshadowed. Like they constantly talk about her nut allergy,
Yeah.
and then she gets taken to some party with her brother, and the first thing you see at the party is just bam, 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 they're just cutting all these nuts at a teenage party, because you know who doesn't want chocolate cake at a party. And she eats a slice, and of course her throat's like, and then he's driving her home.
Let's leave that to.
Yeah.
Let's let the audience experience that.
It needs to be watched.
Yeah.
It is truly one of. It came out 2 years ago, and we're still talking about it like this. Like it's crazy. So anyway, for my pick, I thought because it was so motivated by character, I didn't really know how to tackle it.
Yeah.
So I was thinking maybe more of like a. So it's set within the same world, but it's a completely different family. It's a different. Well, I mean, it would have to be, but it's a different like group of people. So I've gone with. So I have to have an all male cast as well.
That sounds quite fun, to be fair.
Yeah. So for me, I've been picturing it set in maybe like the Midwest in America somewhere. Think like a small like town in Kentucky or something like a farm.
Everybody knows in it, type of thing.
Okay, so we open with like a car driving across a road. Not across a road, driving down like a road. It's like empty. It like pans up to like not a crane shot, like a sky shot, and you get to see the road like stretch out, and there's no one anywhere for miles essentially. And if there's just this like station wagon driving towards the town, and you see this worn down man, you know, you can see him. He's got his hands on the wheel, and he's got a wedding ring on, and he like focuses on it, and then like the camera will like shift towards his face, and he's just this grizzled, worn down old man. He's played by Kevin Bacon.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean,
Mr.
I like
E.
Kevin Bacon.
himself.
Like I'm not a fan of him. He's just Kevin Bacon. But also I kind of casted him because of who I casted beside him, and I feel like it's too good to not. Okay. So it's him, and he's driving, and in the back seat, he's got a son. His son's just like staring like emptily out of the window. He's not really engaging at all. His dad's trying to make small talk.
Is he like young, or is he like teenage?
He's like late teens, so like about like
19, 20 sort of thing.
Like 18 ish.
18.
Yeah. So he was halfway through his last year of high school, and his dad's have to move him out for whatever reason it is. So what we get to learn is this family, they've moved from like the big city, and they're moving in with Kevin Bacon's brother, who's played by Steve Buscemi.
Oh, I forgot you had to put him in.
I had to include Steve Buscemi. And I was like, Kevin Bacon and Steve Buscemi could pass as brothers, probably.
Yeah, I could see that, to be fair.
They're like non-identical twins for some reason.
Yeah.
So like the angle I wanted to go with for this is very much like character driven.
Yeah.
So back in the day, so they were non-identical twins. So like Steve Buscemi was the quiet one. He was the one who he didn't have many friends back in high school, etc., etc.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, but then Kevin Bacon was like the star quarterback on the team. He was like the cool guy, you know. He got all the girls, etc., etc. But now the roles have been reversed.
Yeah.
So Steve, not by any stretch of the imagination, he's not like living it up. Like he's still living in like their hometown.
Yeah.
But Steve Buscemi like didn't leave the town. He's probably like he owns his own mechanic. Mechanic. Yeah,
Chop
his
shop.
own
Okay.
yeah, his own chop shop. You know, like, he like works on cars and whatnot.
Yeah.
So that works. So they pull up to his shop, and like Steve Buscemi's got like a backwards cap on, and he's like working on an
rolls
engine.
out from under the car on a little skateboard thing.
And
like,
you can tell
that monkey wrench.
you can tell that these brothers haven't seen each other in 8 years.
Yeah.
Like it's been.
I can see this in my head as well. They're like having a cold stare at each other.
Yeah.
Kevin Bacon just nods at him, sort of thing.
And they're just looking at each other, and he just grabs him. Steve Buscemi just grabs Kevin Bacon, and they embrace, and it's just Anyway, smash cuts to all of them sat around a dinner table. The son still isn't talking at all. The son is played by Charlie Heaton, who plays Jonathan Byers in Stranger Things.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. I can see that as well. Like
Yeah.
there's a nice little family cut there.
Also, I feel like he looks way too much like Kevin Bacon for me to not cast him.
Yeah.
So it just smashes to a dinner scene, and they're sat there, and there's like an uncomfortable energy, but it's not like. So there was a dinner scene in the first film. It's nowhere near that, because that scene cannot be told.
Yeah.
So there's just a dinner scene, and everyone's a bit just not really comfortable. But everyone, you can tell, has their own sins from the past that they're all haunted by.
Yeah.
So essentially, what I want this film to be, because I have more bullet points than a set structure, is I want it to be like, I don't know. So Kevin Bacon is really trying with his son, but it's not working at all. And what you learn is that it wasn't just the two of them. Kevin Bacon also had a wife.
Yeah.
Who can be played by, I don't know, any suggestions here?
I don't know. I was just gonna say, would you see her in the film because it's all male, or was she played
you
by a dude?
we can see her, but she'll be dead. So.
Oh yeah. So you see her in like family photos or whatever. So I guess it doesn't really matter.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So you can see, that there was a mum and there was also a little sister.
Oh.
Now what happened was thingamajigger. The mum couldn't drive.
She was
drunk. She just
couldn't drive.
Never knew. Yeah, she just doesn't know how to drive. So it's up to the son to go pick up the mum and the little sister. So he picks them up and he's driving and he's like sat at a stoplight, looking at his phone, all the stuff he shouldn't be doing, blah 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 blah, and it cuts to that classic angle of like the person, and it's like if the cameraman was in the passenger seat and you can see oncoming traffic.
Yeah.
But nothing. He slams his foot on the brakes. He's fine. You're like, oh shit! I thought they were gonna crash there. But yeah.
Expectations.
And what actually happens is as he then starts driving again, because you think, oh thank God, I was close. Another car comes smashing in from the other side.
Oh.
And like completely swipes like the back of the car out. And they go spiraling off and land in like a river. So
that's really good, to be fair. I can see that happening. If that happened, that would definitely catch me off guard. Like,
It's like a bait and switch. It's like,
yeah,
oh shit. So anyway, he manages to get out and he goes under and he manages to grab his little sister. And he puts her up on the side and he's like, okay, cool, I'm going back for mum. Dives down for his mum and he can't get the door open. And so he has to just watch his mum in this car just like sink to the bottom of the river. And there's nothing he can do about it.
God damn.
So he swims back up, you know, obviously very upset. But he turns around to go check on his little sister and she's gone.
What?
She hasn't, like, there's no trace of her. There's no shoe. There's no, like, dripping from where she was. That sounded gross. She's just disappeared without a trace.
Jeez.
Right? So this boy has just, I say boy, he's like 17, 18. He's just completely cut off now. He doesn't talk at all.
Bloody hell.
He's like mute. But slowly but surely, he starts like interacting more with his uncle.
Oh, okay.
So him and the uncle have more in common than him and his dad. And you see the dad like slowly kind of like unravel.
Yeah, it's just like,
So-
why is he not talking to me, sort of thing.
Yeah, but not even in like an obvious way. Like you're supposed to think. The way I want the film to go is you're supposed to think that, oh, if some creepy shit's gonna happen, it's gonna be with the boy because he's clearly like fucked up in the head after this horrible thing that's happened to him. But it's the dad who you kind of see it coming in like smaller interactions.
Yeah, he puts on a brave face at the start, you know.
Exactly.
I guess it sets that up, and then it just goes down in a spiral.
So anyway, the way I want to have it is, so the dad finds out like about this like cult kind of thing, but it's not a cult. It's called like the Church of the Seven Circles or some real cult sounding shit like that. And
the artsy hotel.
Exactly. And he invites this cult in, but it turns out that the cult is the same cult from the first film.
Yeah.
Who is now led by the brother from the first film.
Oh.
And plot twist, it turns out that it was them who stole the sister and they caused the crash and everything. And
It was all connected. It was all lined up.
yeah, it was all. Now I say it out loud, it just sounds like a crappy retelling of the first one. But I feel like for me, it's more about like, it's not about scares like per se. It's about the atmosphere. It has to have like a really bleak atmosphere. Like everything's like it's like all the colors are washed out and flat, and everyone looks grimy, and they've all got like 5 o'clock stubble and the shadow and shit like that. You know, that kind of.
But to me, with that like ending there, it sounds to me like it could work as a franchise sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like obviously this film probably wouldn't be called Hereditary 2. I mean, it would be Hereditary, like name of the small town or whatever. I don't know. Or like the name of the family.
Yeah, I got like Hereditary. Yeah, nothing's coming to mind. Inheritance. I don't know.
Yeah. It could work. But yeah, it sounds really good. Like it's all connected, and then who knows if Aster is listed as well. Maybe you'd pick that up and be like,
he's just gonna steal. That's the only thing I don't like about this podcast now, is that like I know that these directors are listening and they're just gonna steal our ideas.
100%, man.
Like
we should have patterned them. Like
oy vey.
Just we change the names of them, change the characters a little bit, and then there are films.
Exactly.
We'd be sitting on a gold mine here.
Like I don't see any downside to that.
Nah.
But yeah, that's my pitch for pitch is a loose word. But yeah, that's my pitch for Hereditary.
Why is it? Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Like I could see like a lot of the stuff happening as well. Like I don't know about the audience at home, but in my head when you were saying that, you painted a very good picture. So.
I'm a very visual person. Like,
if
you ever hear me like describing a thought that I'm having, it tends to be very like cinematic-esque. That sounded so pretentious. Like it will be very much like shot, reverse shot, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I was the same. Like a bit establishing shots and stuff, and
I think that's it then, right?
Yeah.
I feel like, well, to me at least, like that manic energy from last week
It's
was
been
like,
toned down
yeah,
100%. Like this is more chill sort of thing. Like there's been a couple of jokes here and there, but last week we were sort of like, oh god, well,
there was like
where are we going
no
with this
rhyme or
next?
reason.
Where are we actually gonna take
You
this?
could hear the panic in our voices.
Yeah. So look forward to next week then, I guess, because that's what we're doing again.
Yeah.
um, do you want to randomize the film now, or do you want to wait till next week? So then we've got something in our head and we can come together and just mash our ideas. Or
You know what? I've got the trusty coin in my hand here.
okay,
So, do you want to pick heads or tails?
I'll go for heads this time. Why not?
Heads. Okay. So if it's heads, then we pick now. If it's tails, then we pick next week, and we just wing it again like the first episode.
Yeah.
Lord, give us strength. It is. It's heads.
So pick next week was that?
Pick now. That was
Pick now. Okay. Cool.
cool. So I've got the randomizer here. So I'll click it. 1, 2, 3. We got Dora the Explorer.
Oh hell yeah! Okay, I like that.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan.
Don't worry, that film to me is a masterpiece anyway. But you know, we'll
Hooray! We did it. We
found the golden pad. The tune.
Top notch stuff. It really is.
You know what is it?
Cool.
Prequel, sequel, rewrite.
Randomizing now. 1, 2, 3. It's just a new pitch.
So
This is good.
completely making a new one. I like
we
this.
can just take the IP and pitch it as whatever we want.
Yeah, I've already got some ideas.
So do I. Are you both thinking like dark and gritty, like Dora,
Kinda, yeah.
like
she's
Robert
older.
Rodriguez, like
Yeah.
Machete Kills kind of vibes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then okay, I've just randomized it.
For the
What's
wild
it-
cards.
For the wild cards, and are we doing the top 4, right?
Top 3, and then read out the next ones, and we can see if we want to change the next 2.
Okay.
After that.
So the top 3 are we have to turn it into a CW TV show.
Okay.
So think
Okay.
Riverdale.
Oh my
right?
god, I like this. Okay.
I really like this.
Yeah.
Okay, so think like in the vein of like Riverdale, like very crappy, like or like Gossip Girl, very crappy like teen drama, like murder and mystery and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay, number 2 is there has to be a quest.
Quest. Yeah, that's pretty standard for Dora.
Yeah. Number 3 is there has to be massive product placement.
I think we should keep that because it's CW.
Yeah.
I think that's gonna be in.
Okay, but number 4 is it has to star Shia LaBeouf.
I think we should kind of put that in. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe get rid of quest and just change it because Dora's always gonna have a quest. Like these
This is
CW
true.
shows
Like, it's
always
Dora.
like have something going on. Like half the season there's like a little half plot line, and then the rest of the season they're getting into the massive plot line.
Yeah. Okay, bet. Alright, so CW that bitch.
Mhm.
Massive product placement.
Yeah.
And
Shire.
has to star Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for this.
Yeah. This is gonna be good.
I'm gonna start writing the second we go off. I'm actually really excited.
All right.
Yeah.
Then.
We'll see you all next week.
See you all next week. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks for if you've got any feedback at all or any questions or any suggestions, because of course like the way that we run, we have like the randomizer lists and whatnot.
Yeah.
So if you have any films, any wildcard ideas,
yeah,
just
Hit us
drop
up.
us a message. Yeah.
Yeah, our Instagram, Facebook page, whatever.
Yeah. Or you can hit like either of us individually.
Exactly.
But yeah, thanks again for listening.
Thanks again.
And that's
See you
been
later, man.
Reinventing the Real. See you later, man.